You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 105. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where I show you how life with less alcohol is more fun than you think. I work with high achievers who struggle to drink a glass of wine without it turning into 2 bottles. I'm the one they call when they want to take it or leave it. So if you want to change your relationship with alcohol that doesn't involve counting days sober, you're in the right place. Hi all, and welcome back to the podcast. And by the way, if you are new, if this is the first time you've listened to my podcast, then welcome to you too. You are in good company. If you haven't already done so, and I guess you haven't if this is your first one, but go back and listen to a few of the other episodes, especially start with why we drink. I think that was episode 1. All right, so on with today's show. So wasn't last week's episode a humdinger? I do hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't listened to it, go and do that now. Or listen to this one first, then go and listen to last week's. All right, my lovely client Emma spoke about her before and after experience of working with me. She spoke about how differently she sees herself and what she wants from her life now. Right? She spoke about her background, how alcohol had been in her family, how she had wanted to change, but never did it until she took the leap. And we worked together and she made the change, and how much her outlook has changed in such a short time. And on a similar note, yesterday I received an email from another one of my, I should call them graduate clients. And when we started working together, he told me how much he would just love to go diving, right? But it just wasn't safe because he was drinking. And he was drinking so much. And so not just the activity of diving was out of bounds, but it was all the swimming classes and all the diving lessons and everything, all the prep he had to do, he needed to take before he could achieve his dream of, going diving. He had no time, right? Because he was after work, he'd come home and drink, right? The weekends, there would be drink. Well, yesterday, he sent me a couple of photos of him actually on the diving trip. Right, since working together, he's done the swim training, he's done the dive training, and now he's actually doing the thing. He's doing the goal he had last year. And I'm going to tell you, at that time, it seemed so far away. Now he's doing it in the space of a year. It all came down to a decision he made to back himself, do the work, understand what was happening with the drinking, understand how to change their behavioral habit, right? That this wasn't some broken person, just someone who needed to make that change, and he's done it, and now he's living the life, and that could be you. And this is why I do this work, right? It's to make lives better. It's to show you that life with less or no alcohol is a lot more fun than you think. One of the things I see frequently in my work is, of course, we start out and it's all talking about the alcohol, but very quickly the conversation changes into, what are we doing with life? What do my clients want from their life? Now, I mentioned this because today's episode is something I hear quite a lot. People come on the call with me, that initial first call, and they want to do the work, but then for some reason it's not the right time. This is one of the things that gets in the way. I want to explore that. And I want to set that up with my client just now I mentioned. He could have decided last year that working with me was not the right time. Right? He had a full life, full job, family, the works, the whole thing, right? We all have these very busy lives. He could have decided just to carry on doing what he was doing, trying to be better, trying to willpower his way through with little confidence that it would work. Right? He could have let his fear keep him stuck, but he didn't. And neither did Emma last week, right? It's a similar theme. Emma decided that December was to trust me and to decide that December was a brilliant time to do the work, even though on paper you might think, doesn't seem like a good idea. Right? And these clients of mine, they are now living different lives. They're seeing themselves differently. So I really want to explore this concept of it being the right time. When is the right time? And how will you know when it's arrived? I mean, do you know? Do you have any kind of criteria against which you can assess, yeah, at the moment I can see that this is the right time to actually step forward into the light, put myself first, end this drinking struggle, right? Trust that I can do this, and then just move on. That's what I always say. Just want you to move on from it. This is not something you have to spend the rest of your life thinking about. We were not put on this planet to drink and worry about drinking. Now, I want you to think about this element of timing, because it is a reason or an excuse, depending on your viewpoint, that we put in the way of actually doing many things in our lives, right? You want to do whatever it is, you want to do this thing, maybe it's not the right time. I want you to think about this, because if you are attaching the importance of something being the right time to taking action, to making improvements in your life, right? You're going to want to know when it is time to actually act. Right? It is in your best interests, if you believe there is a right time, to know when that is, or to be able to spot it. But here's what I see. There is no right time. There is just the time you make right. Really, it is that simple. It's like when people tell me it's not the right time because they don't have the money for coaching, right? Sounds sensible. But here's the thing. Not one of my clients had a pot of money lying around, just waiting for coaching. Not one of them had a pot of money off to the side that was there assigned for coaching, right? Not one of them. They just decided they were going to make it work. And before you think, oh, it's easy for them and not for me, no, right? We all get to make decisions for ourselves. And they made it happen, whether it was by finding the full amount somehow or by asking me for a payment plan, which I'm happy to do. You come to me and you're looking for a solution. I'm happy to work with you to make that solution work, right? All of my clients, they made it right? They made it happen. They got the money together, right? They got themselves together. They got their spouse on board. In the cases where that was relevant, right? They got themselves on board. And the same thing is true for time. They made the time right. Because here is the thing, lovely listeners. Whether you work with me or not, whether you decide to commit to doing the work to change your relationship with alcohol or not, you are going to spend that time some way or other, right? Drinking, most likely. Because we all get the 24 hours, whether you decide to allocate it to working with me or not, you're still going to get that same time. So then the question becomes, how do you want to spend that time? How do you want to choose to spend that time? And time and again, I see the reason why people feel it isn't the correct time or the appropriate time or the right time to finally focus on changing their relationship with alcohol is that they are spending their life doing something, i.e. drinking, that is blocking them from spending their life on what they want to do, which is all the other things, right? Like reading, building a business, the hobbies, the resting, the writing a book. Or as in the case of my client I mentioned just now, doing the swim and dive training, right? So we're spending our time doing the thing that we don't want to be doing. And in doing that thing, we are not able to then spend our time doing the thing we want to do. This is why so often I refer to, when we change our relationship with alcohol, it's kind of like the key. It's like the key in that book, The Secret Garden. It just unlocks this whole other life that you maybe squint and you believe it might be there. It's totally there. Right? And you start and you just have all this time and all this sensation and belief in yourself and trust in yourself, and you're going to go off and do marvelous things. So what does it actually mean when you say it isn't the right time? Right? When push comes to shove, why is now not the right time? And there are typically 4 flavors of this that people tell me. And there is a 5th angle too. that isn't talked about so much, and I will cover that too. But first, let's talk about the 4 more common ones. And you want to see, as I'm talking about this, do you get a reaction to this? Are any of these you? Firstly, I have too much going on. If this is your number one reason, I'm going to offer it's the reason why you need to do this. Now, I'm not just talking here about the wasted time from hangovers, when you're operating below par. I'm not even talking about the actual time when you're actually drinking, right? I'm talking about all the time you spend scheming. Is there enough wine left? Do I have to buy more? And then when we're out with people, right, we're thinking, is it time to get more? I wish that person would shut up over there so I can just go and get another drink, right? I don't want to interrupt the conversation because that would feel rude. It's all the time you're half checked out of your life, not listening to your spouse, because our powers of concentration go, right? We are dulled. We are not connected with people as much when we've been drinking. I want you to think of all the time that today, on an average day, you are spending on the things you don't want. And then I want you to imagine if you could remove just some of that time, some of that allocation that's sort of in the drinking sphere, to how differently your life would be if you could reallocate it somewhere else. And the work we do together will accomplish that. You will gain time because you're going to be drinking less, but you'll also gain time from stopping all the self-doubt, all the self-loathing, all the beating yourself up, all the wondering, why can I never change, right? There is lots of time you are spending on that stuff, and it is exhausting, right? I remember that. Felt like I was on Groundhog Day in that film, that Bill Murray film. Every day, the same old concerns would start rearing their heads, right? So you're going to save all that time. So that's the first flavor of it's not the right time. The second is if you have an event, a party, a wedding, a birthday, an anniversary, a works do, whatever it is coming up. It sounds sensible, right? Got this big event coming up, so I'm going to wait until after that. But what does this mean? Think about what you're saying, right? I can't do this work because of this thing that's happening in the world. It is suggesting to yourself that you can only do this, you can only learn how to interact differently around alcohol if all the external circumstances are set up and are set up actually perfectly to do this, right? Because there is always going to be something going on, always. It's going to be a work event, a party, a wedding, a wake. It could just be a normal day and then your spouse comes home with a bottle of wine, right? External circumstance that's changing. You say, oh, I'm going to freak out now because I can't do this because that thing has happened. We say all this while logically knowing that, of course, we can go to these events and not drink. People tell me that all the time. Logically, I know that, Anna. And while we know that logically, we actually worry, right? That's the truth of it. We worry what it will be like. And I will show you how to challenge these social constructs in a way that serves you. And my other view, and you heard Emma talk about this last week, I passionately believe that these opportunities are just the most brilliant way to practice the skill of drinking differently that you're going to be learning, right? To learn anything, we need to be able to do this. If you want to learn how to ride a bike, you actually need to sit on the bike, right? You can't learn from YouTube videos. The third flavor of it's not the right time is, I can't do this yet, Anna, until I've found a new coping mechanism. And this shows up when it comes to handling stress or grief or frustration or annoyance, right? If you're somebody who drinks in response to all the negative emotions. But what I teach is that none of this is a problem ever, right? Our feelings are not a problem, which means that alcohol is not needed as a solution. And I show you how to do this. The fourth common reason why now isn't the right time, and this is one of my personal favorites, I completely resonate with this. This was me back in the day, is other people. Now I get it. It's really nice to feel supported. There is a sense of safety in numbers, right? But you are still the one who's going to go out there and do the things to get the transformation, to get the change in your life that you desire. You're going to be the one who's going to be doing the different thing when it comes to the wine in the evening. I want you to think about how relying on other people to be lined up with what you want to do is going to slow you down. I'll talk about that in a second. I want you to think about, from right now, it's going to slow you down. Let's look at a different scenario. Let's just say you're going out for the day. Maybe you're going to the beach for the day with a group of friends, right? Or you're going out with your family. And you might say, right, we're going to leave at 9, right? Everybody leaving at 9 in the morning. But there's invariably somebody who is late. And then another one forgets their towel, and you have to go back and get it, all right? Or somebody else is in the loo or whatever. There's just a lot of wasted time hanging around, right? And then you're waiting for somebody, and then someone says, oh, I'm just going to go off and do this thing because they're not here. And then all right, we know how that goes. I want you to consider that if you are waiting for your husband or your wife or your friends or whomever to say they're going to change their drinking too, that you're effectively wasting your time, right? It's like you're waiting in the hallway for everybody to be there to get in the car. You're ready to go. You want to change your drinking. You know that, but you can't do it until they're all on board. So you're kind of hanging around. I want to be warned on this. You could be waiting for a very long time because, right, I'm not talking here about people who need to get medical intervention because there is a physical addiction and where it's dangerous to stop drinking, right, without the support of a doctor. That is something totally different. You need to really have that medical support there. I'm talking about people like you, the high achievers, right? You just want to be able to learn how to drink a couple of glasses without it turning into a bottle. Now, when it comes to the people around you, they may have all the reasons, all right, why now isn't a good time, right? They can have these same reasons that you are. Why isn't a good time for them to do this to support you? Maybe they tell you that you're making a fuss. You don't drink too much. I used to hear that all the time. What are you saying, Anna? You're making such a fuss. You drink less than I do. Maybe they're afraid of their own drinking, right? And maybe they're afraid that you cutting back is going to make them feel awkward if they want to carry on drinking. Maybe, the fact that you drink makes them feel a bit happier about themselves. Maybe they're afraid that if you do actually do this and you actually do succeed, because maybe they could see the glint in your eye that you are serious this time, maybe you're going to make them change their drinking. You're going to make them toe the line, which they are afraid of at all costs. They're quite happy to maybe support you, but is that going to turn into you telling them what they need to do? So basically, the bottom line here is that waiting for others, you could be waiting forever. So instead, I always say, you do you and let them do them. So I said there are 4 reasons why that people often now is not the right time. And I've just gone through those. But there is a 5th that I see at the base of most of this, and it rarely gets talked about. But it's this one. It's fear. It's fear. Will this work for me? Will I succeed this time? Now, this fear stems from not trusting yourself to follow through. This fear stems from not honoring your word to do what is necessary to get the results. This is completely and utterly normal. Your brain's job is to talk you out of doing things differently, purely to save energy, even things that are better for you in the long run. Right? Your brain's job is to talk you out of getting up early, reading the book that you want to read, cleaning out the garage. It talks you out of doing these things because it requires effort. And our brains are inherently lazy. They want to keep us not extending lots of effort. But one of the bigger things that I do with my clients that I will teach you is how to override your brain and how to honor your word to yourself, because this builds so much trust. Now, the fear often stems from what if it doesn't work for me, right? I just couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear the agony myself. I couldn't bear the embarrassment in front of my husband or wife that I failed again. I understand. But I want you to see that this fear stems from a belief that outside forces are influencing and dictating our ability to take action. I teach my clients how to get what they came for no matter what. I will teach you how to get what you want always and to be in control of your life totally. Self-trust will be the foundation of this, and this is our work. But if fear is making it hard for you to say yes, and by the way, I'm talking here alcohol. This could be true of anything, any major desire you have in your life, right? If fear is making it hard for you to say yes, I want you to consider this. You are already feeling afraid. You are already feeling afraid that you drink too much, afraid you'll never change, afraid you can't change, afraid your health will worsen, afraid of this, afraid of that. So feeling afraid that it won't work is not going to be any different. Now you may be thinking, but then Anna, I will have proof that it doesn't work for me. And guess what? I'll have spent all this money to still be stuck. Now, if you sign up for a program and then you don't turn up, you don't do any of the things, then I think you can see what result you're going to get. But that is just another way for scared thinking to rule the roost, right? It's not going to work, so I may as well not bother. And then guess what? It doesn't work. And you say, haha, see, I told you. But really, I want you to think about this. If you are sitting there wanting deep in your bones, deeply to have a different relationship with alcohol, right? What is really the worst case? The worst case of giving this a go. Now, you might think the worst case is I spend the money with you and I don't change. I want to offer there's a worser result. Yes, I use the word worser on purpose. I'm very pernickety with the grammar and the spelling, but I think it works best here. I think it really underlines what I want to say. The worser case is that this kind of scared thinking is going to prevent you from taking action to make the change that you want. It's going to prevent you from getting the best case scenario, which is a completely transformed relationship with alcohol. And you do 100% want that, or my friend, you would not be listening to this podcast right now. Now, you've probably read the theory, or you've read somebody's writing that the best time to have started a behavioral change was yesterday, but if you didn't do it then, the best time is now. That sounds nice and lovely, but I find it often opens up the but door, right? That sounds good, but you don't know my life, right? And that's when we get into all these reasons that I've just gone through as to why now isn't a good time, right? Too much going on, all the rest of it. Now, I want you to see those reasons are really just excuses. You may not like hearing me say this. You may be yelling at me right now. But if you can sit really quietly with yourself, just you and you will see this. Right? You will, if you really go deep into it, do you really believe that the reasons you're holding yourself back are valid reasons rather, and not just excuses? I just want you to question that. And many of you tell me, right, that they really are just excuses. You can actually see what's going on. I talk with people all the time and they're calling themselves out. So instead, I want to put it a different way. You can choose to love your excuses and stay where you are, totally up to you, or you can just choose to get out of your own way and create a different future. But actually, I need to correct that actually. You won't stay where you are if you keep agreeing with yourself on your excuses. You're not going to be standing still if you make no changes. You actually won't be stuck in one place. You will be going further from your goal. Because here's why. The more times that we repeat the habit, the more that we reward our urges with the drink, the more we tell ourselves we're a screw up and we're never going to change, well, the more we dig into those positions, the more entrenched the habit becomes, and the more we look for evidence to prove this to ourselves again and again and again. We're going around proving ourselves right about something that we would dearly love to be wrong about. Now, as I say all this, I don't want any of this to be an opportunity for you to use what I'm saying against yourself. This is what we do. This is how we're wired, right? Change is a scary thing. It's unknown. I don't want you to think, yeah, look at that. She's studying all this stuff and it makes sense. And here am I, still doing the same thing. I'm very stupid. I don't want you to go there. It is completely normal to feel like this. This is a really big decision, not just financially, but you're deciding to go all in on yourself. So I get it. that you may need to think about it, that might be what you're telling yourself. But here's what I see time and again. A lot of the time, people who say they want to wait and think about it, it's because they're waiting to feel differently than they do right now. But because they're feeling scared, right? This is a big thing. I'm really making a decision for myself here. But if you are feeling a little or even a big frisson of fear, I want to offer that's a good thing. It's just your brain working as designed. It shows you have a perfectly in order brain. It's feeling discomfort from the unknown. But here's the thought I'll leave you with. You are already feeling discomfort from the known. So which would you rather have? Here's the practical element. You know me, a little bit of homework. You want to grab your pen and paper. I want you to think about this. If you want to change your drinking, but you're thinking now is not the right time, if that's where your brain goes, I want you to ask yourself, why isn't it the right time? Really answer the question. I want you to write out all the reasons. You might have one, you might have a dozen, you might have 100. Write it out. Then I want you to ask, do you like your reason or your reasons? How would you react if a friend had just told you those reasons? So your friend who says, I really want to change my drinking, I'm not happy with my life, and I'm not going to do it now for this reason. Next question. What is this? This is the fourth question. What would the right time actually look like? Would you recognize it? And then finally, what are you doing to create that space in your life? Remember, we're going to all go on using our 24 allotted hours each day. We get no choice about that. Even if we are conked out from drink or we're sleeping, we're still using the time. To get a different result, you need to take a different action. So what is it going to be? Perhaps it is to decide that the right time is now. What would you have to be thinking for that to be the case? Maybe that is available to you right this instant, right? That the time is right now and you just haven't explored that thought yet. And what if it makes it easier for the time to be now and to just get started? How might it be so much harder to not take action and to stay where you are? That's it for this week, but I do want to let you know I have a free video course. It's called 3 Key Things to Get Your Drinking Under Control. This will enable you to start taking action immediately. Go to 90dayslater.co/3 things. You'll get immediate access to that mini course. If you have any questions on anything, I am on anna@90dayslater.co, and I will see you all next week. If you like what you're learning in the podcast and you want to take the work further and achieve total freedom around alcohol, let's talk. I help my clients stop reaching for that first glass of wine the moment 6 p.m. rolls around and they don't miss out on life. Email me for more information on anna@90dayslater.co. And if you did enjoy the show, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review to help others find the 90 Days Later podcast.